In today's episode of Can I Retire, I have Tom and Rita, not Hanks, but hypothetical. They're 60 years of age and they want to retire in about 7 years, so at the age of 67 together. And they've got 5 major concerns. Number 1, they want to make sure they never outlive their money. 2 is that they want to get the greatest returns for the least amount of risk in their investments. Number 3 are taxes. They'll pay their fair share, but they don't want to pay more than they have to. And number 4 is they want to make sure that if they retire a little bit early, that they got the proper health care and what are they going to do for long-term care because they don't have a policy to protect themselves. And number 5, to wrap it all up, do they need a will or do they need a trust? So today we're going to take a look at least number 1 to make sure, hey, do they have enough money and what they need to be thinking about since they're going to be retiring in about 7 years from now. So diving right into this case, you can see I've got Tom and Rita up here. Tom works for ABC and he makes about $100,000 a year. He's 60 years of age and wants to retire at the age of 67. Rita, his wife of many, many years, makes $95,000 and is going to retire at the same time. We scroll down, you can see their Social Security benefits. Here's Tom's. And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. They were just thinking that when they retired, that's when they would turn on their Social Security. There's a lot of other factors that go into place, and then we would go back in and calculate, hey, what's the highest probability? What looks the best to them of when to turn on their Social Security? But we're going to start at 67 when they do retire. Tom's primary benefit is $2,800, and then Rita's Social Security benefit at her full retirement age is $2,700. The next column over shows projected COLA, cost of living adjustment. You can see I'm using 2.75. I'm often going to use something a little bit lower than this, but if I click on this button right here that says COLA history, it's going to show us the last 10-year average has been 2.75, and for the last 50 years, it's been 3.70. Now, please remember, this is just a hypothetical case, and it's very, very important that you're at least doing a review, a minimum of once a year, at least regularly, to be updating your plan, because this is just a snapshot right now in time, and these change all the time. So in 2024, you can see the COLA was 3.2. The year before that was 8.7. So it's all over the place. So I'm going to use 2.75 to start out with because that's been the last 10-year average. Pensions, we'd put them in here if we had any. We're saying that in this hypothetical case that we do not. And I'm going to go over to their asset tab. You can see Tom has a 401k with about $75,000 in it, and he's contributing $500 a month. Rita's got her 401k with $100,000 in it, and she's putting in $1,000 a month. Now, right here, I want to stop and simply say that I find that most people are overfunding their 401k, simply meaning that, let's say the employer says they'll match the first 4% or maybe the first 5%, but a lot of people are putting in 7, 8, 9, 10%. It makes sense for some people who believe that taxes are going to be lower in the future, but if you think taxes might be higher in the future, you might want to be reevaluating that. Contribute up to the match and then look to take the overage dollars and redirect those to maybe an after-tax account or even into a Roth account if you qualify. Moving down to line 3 and 4, Tom and Rita both have some company stock. We're calling these non-qualified. They're paying the tax on these. Tom's got $50,000 in his and Rita's got $40,000 in hers. They have a couple joint CDs, one for $15,000 and one for $10,000, and then a savings account of about, or emergency money, about $10,000. Now I got left a couple accounts down here blank. They got their checking, but I'm not putting any money in it. This is pretty much money in, money out. And then I'm going to leave this new savings account because one thing that Tom and Rita said in this hypothetical case is they said, you know what? We've been blessed, the kiddos are out of the house and we've moved up the corporate ladder and we're making a little bit more money now and we can actually save more money. So we'd like to know, do we need to be saving more to meet our income needs when we do retire in about 7 years? So if I scroll down, you can see that they've got a home and we're listing that at $400,000. So they've got liquid net worth of $300,000 with the house of $400,000, a total portfolio of $700,000. I'm using a weighted portfolio average of 4.83. So I'm showing that because I don't want you to think I'm using a 8, 9, 10% rate of return in their portfolio. So we're going to go over to their expenses and take a look. They say that, Tony, we would like to know if we can live off of $6,000 a year net into our checking account. So we want you to help us with the calculation of a bigger dollar amount on the gross side, withhold those taxes, but deposit $6,000 into our account. What's that going to look like? We also need to add in some inflation here. So if I take a look at the inflation, you can see the last 10-year average has been 2.82. We'll go ahead and use that. But the last 110-year average has been 3.27. You can see, just like the COLA for Social Security, is all over the place. And this is always a fun conversation, talking to somebody about what they believe that inflation is going to be. We'll use whatever you want to make you happy. If you want to use a higher number, then we'll show you how fast you are going to run out of money. But again, that's why it's so important to be reevaluating it all the time. We've got the house on here. I threw $100,000 in liabilities, and if we come over to their tax tab or their retirement tab, you can see the $300 in spendable assets, $400 for the house, minus the $100,000 in the liability for the home is a net worth of $600,000. But more importantly on this screen is we're taking a look at their red line. Red line means when are they going to run out of money? And it looks like they make it all the way to age 93. Now it's common for most people at this point to say, Tony, 93, that's pretty good. I really, if it made it to age 85 or something like that, that makes me feel, pretty good, because I really don't think I'm going to live to be 93, or I don't want to live till age 93. It's interesting. I hear that a lot. But for me as the advisor, I really would like to see a little more padding in here. This is 20, 30 years in retirement, and there's going to be curveballs along the way. There could be, health problems. You're going to need a new car. You're going to probably want to upgrade improvements on the house. Maybe you want to buy an RV or just do traveling to go see kids and grandkids. So there's going to be some unexpected cost along the way, and I want to pad this thing the best I possibly can for all of those unknowns. If I come down here, we can have a little bit more detailed report. You can see at the age of 67, we've got about $5,500. Those are Tom and Rita's 2 Social Security checks. But you can see in the next year at 68, those amounts are going up a little bit, and that's from our cost of living adjustment that we gave them. We can certainly lower that, increase it, kind of play with that a little bit based on whatever they're feeling. If I come across, you can see their monthly expenses. Now remember, they said they wanted $6,000 net, but that was at the age of 60. So at 67, that's going to feel more like $7,400, not just $6,000 because of the inflation factor that we put in there. Well, if they're getting $5,500 from Social Security, that means I've got to pull out about $1,900 a month from their spendable assets, their 401ks, their IRAs, all those other liquid accounts. So over here, I'm pulling money out every single year so they can maintain that standard of living. And we want to see how long it lasts. You can see that dollar amount gets more each month. And if I scroll down, you can see that right here is where they get redlined. This is where they run out of money. All those assets are spent now. But obviously, they still have their Social Security, which is this column right here. And you can see with the cost of living adjustment what that's gone up to. So they're still getting their Social Security, but they've ran out of money. They make it to age 93. I'd really like to see this last a little bit longer. So the first thing I want to take a look at is, let's take a look at the market. Let's stress test this. Let's say, hey, listen, we retire at 67, and in the first 3 years of retirement, when we're 67 years of age, the market's down 10%. And then the next year, the market's down 13%. And then the next year, it's down 23%. This is completely hypothetical, and there's a lot of Monte Carlo softwares out there that can show you multiple different scenarios of the possibilities that could happen. But I'm just showing you one. And so in this hypothetical case, you can see by pulling a ton of money out and having 3 straight negative years, it really hurts the portfolio, and they're actually running out of money, not at 93, but now at age 82. So we want to definitely prevent that from happening. Talking about, making sure that we don't outlive money. Now, Tom has already told me, he said, hey, listen, Tony, I love what I'm doing at work. I'm willing to work a little bit longer if needed. We're in a great position that we can save more money if needed, maybe tweak the expenses just a little bit, kind of show us some ideas. So I'm not going to ask him to work longer. Let's put that last. Let's try to defer that one if we can just tweak a couple other things here first. So right off the bat, he said, I can save easily another $2,000, maybe more. So we're going to add $2,000 into the monthly contributions for the next 7 years before he retires. So let's see how big of a difference that makes. Remember, they were going to run out of money at age 93. So if I come back, no, first of all, let me tell you this is I'm just throwing this into an after-tax account. There needs to be some in-depth conversation about, does it make better sense to use a Roth account? Do they qualify to use a Roth? Does it make sense to use Roth at this point? Or does it make better sense to put this in after-tax dollars, and maybe we could use some qualified dividends to where we can receive really nice checks completely tax-free in retirement? So there's multiple options, a lot of things to think about there, but let's just throw in $2,000 and see if that pushes our red line out a little bit. And it went from 93 to 96 if you caught that. Just rewind the video if you missed it. So I like that. That looks a little bit better. And he says, you know, let's just see what we got to do to get to 100. Let's play with this just a little bit. And he says, Tony, lower our expenses just a little bit. Let's go from $6,000 to $5,700. So $5,700. You're going to use the same inflation rate. Come back over to our retirement tab, and now we make it to age 100 with a little bit of cushion in there. So they've got a little bit of flexibility there. And if you remember, I talk a lot about this in our Can I Retire videos. And in that first decade after retiring, for them, it's the, what is that? What do we say they're retiring at here? At 67. So 67 to 77, that's our go-go years. We're active, right? We're going to see the kiddos and the grandkids, and we're traveling, and we're very active usually. And then that second decade, is our slow-go years. So maybe we're not spending as much money, and then that last decade is our no-go years. So we're really slowed down quite a bit. So maybe we're just not spending as much. But we're going to pretend as if we are spending $6,000 or $5,700 all along the way. But I can come back in, since we know that $5,700 does meet our threshold there, so we don't redline anymore. Let's just change that back and go $6,000 and see if they're happy of making, 96 to the age of 96, right? So what are some other things that we could do? We could work a little bit longer. Right? We can come in here and we can play with the COLA, cost of living adjustment. I could raise that to 3.7. I'm not. It's obviously going to make it look a lot better. I prefer to kind of look something like this. Let's lower this. Let's really put the hurt on them a little bit here. All right. I'd rather have a case where it's kind of a worst case scenario. Let's go 2.25. Right? Now he's back down to 92, and now let's go over here to the expenses, and let's put the hurt on him just a little bit in the inflation rate too. Right, so we got 2.82. Let's just raise that to 3, and let's see how fast he runs out of money here. We're going to go 3 here. So you understand what I've done? I've lowered the cost of living adjustment on Social Security, and I've raised the inflation rate. I'm really squeezing Tom and Rita here best I can. So now the money only lasts till age 90. I kind of like this as the advisor, right? I want to be prepared for these types of things. Now, again, he can work longer, he can reduce his cost of living, he can add more money, we can play with these numbers, but please remember, this is hypothetical. It's a snapshot in time. You've got to do the reviews. I wanted to show you this so you can kind of come up with some ideas for yourself of those options. Let's see. Got the income in there. That looks really good. The assets, you could play with these a little bit, maybe add a little bit more money. The expenses, you saw how you can play with those a little bit. But he's doing pretty good. He made it to age 90. I like that. Just remember to be doing your reviews. Make sure that you also catch out another video that I did called $75,000 income tax-free without a Roth IRA. It's awesome how you can use dividend income up to almost $94,000 this year completely tax-free. And most importantly, remember to always consult a licensed professional who understands your specific goals and dreams.